Preparation is important because it will allow you to differentiate yourself. If you're going into an interview and you don't know what you're getting yourself into, for example, if you don't know anything about the company accounts, the market they operate in, their competition, the person sitting in front of you, then you're not going to be able to position yourself correctly. The preparation process is like any other research process, and there are a variety of information resources at your disposal in libraries and on the internet. I recommend looking at the market and industry with a detailed analysis via online databases like Hoover's and Dun & Bradstreet, because they all give information about a particular sector. Seeking out business information via newspapers and magazines, annual reports, Google, and especially Google News for small to medium businesses is really important. If it's a publicly listed company, look at the company accounts and annual accounts so that you can understand where the profit lies, where the difficulties may lie, where the opportunities lie, what the CEO and other prominent figures are saying in terms of future growth. You really need to stop overwhelming yourself with thoughts of getting the job you're interviewing for. That might sound counterintuitive, but believe me, if you focus on building a relationship with your prospective manager and the other important people in the interview process, the rest will come naturally and fall into place. Please remember to find out as much about the people in the business as possible. You'll need to research 3 key people, including the CEO, people in the team, especially those who are likely to work in a similar role, and of course the interviewers. This will give you an edge over other interviewees because most people forget to try to understand the people and the culture of the organisation that they're going into. LinkedIn will give you a feel and flavour for people within the business, so networking and engaging in conversations beforehand will enable you to get as much information as you can. Now you need to spend some time analysing the data that the recruiter or hiring manager gave you, and that data is generally in the form of an advert, a job description, and a person specification. Just from those 3 pieces of information, you should be able to understand what the experience, skills and strengths and values the organisation are looking for, because they're likely to be right in front of you. Your task is to articulate the qualities that you have with those required by the role. So you need to understand what they're looking for and then mirror it back to them, whether that's in the application process or the interview process. The key to managing yourself in the interview process is to accept that the interview is a sales process. Think back to the last interview that you had, and I can guarantee you that the interviewer spent 90% of the time grilling you and asking you questions, and then at the end gave you 5 to 10% of the time for you to ask questions. You need to address that balance and promote a meaningful dialogue whilst focusing on the interviewer's needs and not your own. The first step is to ask questions. How can you ask questions in an interview process? The easiest way is to initiate the dialogue with the interviewers that goes back and forth as you exchange questions and answers, as if you're in a verbal game of tennis. If they ask you a question about project management, you might give them an answer about your experience with project management. At the end of your answer, you then tag on a question back to the interviewer about how project management is conducted within their organisation. As an interviewee, this enables you to build a range of information on the spot that you wouldn't have got from your previous research about exactly what this role is all about. You also need to tell the interviewers what interests you about what they are doing and make them feel good about what they do. You'll now have a wealth of new information which will enable you to pitch yourself in at the end of the interview as a solution and ideal candidate, because you'll have a better understanding of what they're looking for. So by now, you should have asked your questions. And by the way, if they've asked you 10 questions, you should have asked 10 questions back to them. You've got an understanding of what the organisation is looking for and made them feel good about what they do. There are 2 steps you need to follow from there. The first step is to summarise what's just gone before. For example, you might say something along the lines of, from my understanding, are you looking for a marketing manager with A, B, C, X, Y, Z? If you provided an accurate summary, they will say yes once you've delivered your summary. The second step is to set actions for moving forward. The simplest and most effective way to do this in an interview scenario is to ask, do you have any reservations about me? The reason I would suggest you ask that question is, if there are any reservations, you want the opportunity to deal with them there and then. You wouldn't want to go home and think, if only I'd asked this question or answered this differently. And if there aren't any reservations, you want them to start thinking about committing to moving forward with you. And that question helps you to do that. Your post-interview follow-up correspondence with the interviewers will also help them to understand that you want to commit to moving forward.